Hello and welcome back to the Would-Be Carpenter Shop. My name's Donald and today we're going to be working on this Chinese carved elm Lohan or daybed. This is the one part of an identical piece and we're just going to be fixing the railing. It's mortise and tendoned and they've just been sheared off in a few places. So what I'm going to do is show you how I rebuild the tendons and redo the mortises on here. So look like nothing ever happened. So let's get to it. I'm going to take this tenon and set the other aside for a moment so I could work on getting these holes cleaned out. Inch and a half, about 3/4. All right, it's a little snug. So I'm gonna open this up just a little bit. Okay, it's gonna be nice and snug. All right. Okay, that's down she's gonna go. And when that dries, I'll take the chisel and I'll level that out, and then recut a mortise in that. Right here, I just blew out the side. I should have used a pressure clamp on it. I'll glue it up when I put the tenon in. For now, I'll just clamp it and continue to dig it out. Here, just an inch. Okay. Back to this one. Very, very tight. So I'm going to soften that a little bit so it doesn't push that crack open. Just a hit. Okay, that's going to be a good one. There you go. That. I'm going to undo this and push some of that glue through to the outside there. And there we go. Whoop. Thought I broke it off. Okay. That's good enough. just gonna set this aside and let it dry. Gotta clean this up. See this, how dirty this is? Got some type of something all over it. Now that this is dry, I can clean this up. Just here, I'm digging out the tenon that broke off inside this piece. Okay, here's this piece. This one will just clean up the glue. I know it's taking a little bit of that wood there too, but it's all right. I gotta sand it. Now this is pretty loose, so I'm gonna have to stick some wedges under this side, and I'll have to do the same to the opposite corner. Okay, I'm gonna try to create a real thin walnut wedge to go in the backs of the posts. Just here, I'm test fitting the walnut wedge that I just made. Glue it on here, a little white glue. Got my rag ready. Get this ready. I'm gonna finagle this in here. All the way in. Okay. Very clean than it was. Very sturdy now. Yes. This is the diagonal corner across from the one I just wedged. It needs a wedge also. Perfect. Alright, this is the piece that has half of it missing. There's two ways I can go about fixing this. I can just take and make a new one, which would take a little bit of time, or I can just fix it with some epoxy putty, is probably what I'm going to do. So to start off, so the epoxy putty has something solid to hang into, the flat side here, I'm going to drill a few holes. Best stuff ever for doing things like this or patches. It gets rock hard, and then you can sand it, file it, carve it, chisel it. It's just an epoxy putty made by JB Weld. They don't sponsor me or anything. I just really like the product and use it all the time. Epoxy putty too. You spray a little water on a rag and moisten this up because it adheres to it just like with glue. It adheres to it a little bit better when it's a little moist, the wood. So here's what I do. Stuff it in the holes first. Then I get to fun shape it. Okay. Once it's in the holes and this putty touches the top of the other putty, it'll dry and stay no matter what. So we're just gonna load it on here and take off the excess. And you don't have to be super skilled at shaping and things like that. It's the best you can. I do. No, I'm not that good at it. I matched the thickness up to this one I have holding against it right now. But in the end, I had to add another piece of wood to it because it turned out way too thin. I don't know what I did, but I had to add to it. Kind of shape it myself. I put a little water on my hands, and the water helps mold it or shape it a little bit easier too. They say to wait, a few minutes, but I find that if I use water right away, It really does work good to help smooth it and shape it into okay. That's good. I don't say anything else needs to be taken care of on it, and I'll show you. It cleans up real well. So let's let that harden and come back to it and show you how nice it is. You'll be surprised. All right, we're just letting everything dry on this, and then we'll come back tomorrow and put everything together. A lot of glue and mess was on here. I'm taking some 600 paper, and I'm just hitting the finish. I'm not going down past the, to the wood, but I'm just going and staying with the grain because I always get the fantastic luck of putting a scratch in it, even if it's just as fine as 600. So I say stay with the grain, if you can. All these little tiny glue patches, I'm gently getting those up, like right here. So that's all you gotta do. And then once we kind of see how everything just kind of cleans up and disappears, because it's just the finish. So now I will, I'll end up putting a finish back on it in this section so that it'll look good again. And now I'm going to do the same thing to this area up here, okay? So, let's keep rolling. Let's wipe that down and see. Now, I'm not going to put the stain where I'm going to be gluing on the insides of these mortises. So, just on the outside, just to keep it clean, okay? Just where I sanded. I don't want to involve any other this here as well. Just where I sanded. I'm gonna kind of feather it out there so it just blends. Okay. That's a whole lot better there, you see? Just in here. And clean it, just clean it up. Once I put the finish on, it's going to, I didn't mean to hit that bulb, darn it. That's all right. I'll put finish on that and it'll all blend in good. Here I'm just preparing this piece to put a tenon in it. Take this down about half of that, as long as I have enough to stick down in here. Perfect. All right, let me get me a mark on this. Just to make sure it's right on. All right, 15-30 seconds. And then when it goes in, this will just slide down in and it'll work absolutely perfect. All right, so let me get the chiseling on this one and we'll see how it works. Okay, first I'm gonna go around and make my lines. Here's my actual line. I'm just gonna go just to the inside of that, because when you, well, at least when I do it, if I do it right on the line, I'll end up making it too wide. So I stay just to the inside of that line. We'll make me a little tap just to mark it. Then another one. Could have used a wider chisel, but just inside. Give it a tap. Now right now it don't have to be perfect because this is just my line I'm using to eat it up out of. So I'm just going to the inside of that line. Just get my marks down. That way I can start eating away. Well, I'm not actually going to eat it, but the chisel is. Right there. Okay, and then this one. There's my actual line. I'm going to go just to the inside of it. Later on, when it's time to clean it up, I'll take my chisel and I'll chew that out, and it'll make it nice to not be so big, because usually if you go right to the line, it comes out a little big. This is kind of ingrained, so it's a little bit difficult to get out, but that's feeling pretty good. Well, I ended up a little too close to the edge, so I'm having to scoot it back just a hair. Got a hole to put it in. Widen this up this way just a hair too, so it seemed like it was pushing this way. Just square everything up the best I can. A lot of times I use my eye. Going that way. Just here, I'm sanding down the epoxy putty to the shape that I need it. Just here, I'm opening the mortise to accept the tenon in the other small piece. I can see that. At least I know it's got the right placing. Here I'm just dry fitting it together, seeing how everything's going to work. And this is where I discovered that the piece of wood I made with the putty was too thin. I have to make some adjustments, but I'm pretty happy with the way it fits. Now I have one more tenon to reproduce. a small piece for this one. I just need to square up my opening a little bit here. Don't make it too big, so not too loose. And down, kind of eyeballing it down the sides. Eyeballing the back a little bit just to square it up. Here's the piece of wood I added to the block that was too thin. Now it's just right. Okay, it's glue up time. This one, glue on it. Skin, get all the hair off it. The next morning. Okay, I went ahead and washed it down really good, got all the dry glue that I could get off of it, and then I hit it with a little bit of stain just to get some of the raw wood, like the corners of this here. And now I'm going to just get this part that I worked on with shellac. That way it'll seal everything that I did, and then I can put the proper finish on top of that. And it turned out really sturdy, so I'm really pleased with it, and the other corner as well. So, all right, let's go. This is just after the shellac and just before sanding and the final coat of lacquer. All right, final step. The shellac dried, I sanded it lightly with 600 just to knock down the nits, and then I sprayed it with the Mohawk pre-catalyzed clear finish, a lacquer finish, which is what's on the rest of this, and in a satin, and I think it's pretty close. So we'll see how that dries all the way, but it's on there now. It's looking really good. The only thing I have left to do is touch up the top of this to make it look like wood grain and flatten it out, where I had to put the epoxy putty, but this thing is solid as a rock, so I'm really happy with it. I'll show you what it looks like all set up. But thanks for watching. If you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing. Appreciate it.